Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ken Kavanaugh again, and we're discussing the Second Amendment here today. Actually, I'm discussing it because this is just a one-way video. But, we can never mind, all the, state rulings and Supreme Court rulings, in District of Columbia versus Heller and all this other such, because really the debate was solved in 1788 when the Bill of Rights was ratified and the Second Amendment was included within it. And to verify all this, we really just have to simply go back to 1783 through 1787 and read the founding documents that were written by folks like James Madison, one of my heroes. I'm going to be going into Federalist number 46 today. That's just an early heads up in case you want to open up your browsers and find a copy of Federalist number 46, written by James Madison, because its importance and direct relevance to the Second Amendment. In the Federalist 46, James Madison, there's many paragraphs to these Federalist papers, and I understand that deters people from actually going through and reading them. I've done these things for you, and I can pick out the select Federalist papers that apply to the conversations. Federalist 46 is the key one that revolves around the Second Amendment. So in Federalist 46, there's a lot of text in here. Let me see if I can pull it up for you so you can take a look at it. I've highlighted a particular statement here, and this is way down towards the bottom of it. But this actually makes the point that the Second Amendment is actually in place there to deter a federal army from overriding the people. Basically, it's there for the purpose of revolution. When the federal government becomes too ambitious and decides to, abscond with state authorities and county authorities and city authorities. The statement I've highlighted here towards the bottom of Federalist 46, so I'll just go ahead and read it to you since the text might be a little bit too small for you. It says, "Let a regular army, fully equal to the resources of the country, be formed, and let it be entirely at the devotion of the federal government. Still, it would not be going too far to say that the state governments, with the people on their side, would be able to repel the danger." There it is. The argument has been settled in 1788 when this Federalist 46 was written and presented to the people. Basically, the Second Amendment is in place so the American people can defend themselves from the very government that these people are creating. Now, I'd like to go ahead and pick out just a couple other statements inside this entire wonderful document, because it really brings out some of the things that America has lost. And here's one up in about the fourth paragraph here that I find interesting. It has appeared also, I'm reading this, that the prepossessions of the people on whom both will depend will be more on the side of the state governments than of the federal government. America has lost track of this. Oh boy, have they lost track of this. But I know why they've lost track of this, and that's because of the socialism approaches of the Democrat Party. Right? They keep promising you more and more things at higher and higher levels of government so they can actually push the government authority all the way up to the federal level, which is in direct opposition of the design of the Constitution, as you should be able to pick out here from James Madison. Right? What James Madison here is saying is that in the time of the founding of our country, the people would have had far more loyalty to their states and then counties and their cities than they would have had to the federal government. And that's really the design that the nation should have had and have always had. And this is basically a states' rights statement inside Federalist 46. And really, all the paragraphs above the one that I started with really substantiate the idea that the states really have the authority over the people and not this federal government that's being created. So Federalist 46 is a great read for the American patriots across the nation, because it reaffirms that we've lost. And we've lost this because of the Democrat Party. Right? The Democrats Party don't believe in states' rights. They did in 1860, but they've since flip-flopped the entire other way. What the Democrats want today is a national government, a central government with a central police force and a central military. So everyone has to follow the orders of the central government. These are what is called ambitious politicians. They want all the power, to be controlled into one central area, centralized, so that just one person can actually rule the whole country. Well, that's good. That takes me back to the section I was highlighting here, and actually, this entire paragraph is about it. So I'm going to go back down here and just go ahead and read through this beyond what I'd read before. Let a regular army, fully equal to the resources of the country, be formed, and let it be entirely at the devotion of the federal government. Still, it would not be going too far to say that the state governments, with the people on their side, would be able to repel the danger. The highest number to which, this is where Madison goes into the numbers, according to the best computation, a standing army can be carried in any country does not exceed 1/100th part of the whole number of souls, or 1/25th part of, I'm not going to read this because it's really just about Madison going through the justifications of the numbers. But what it boils down to is let us not insult the free and gallant citizens of America with the suspicion that they would be less able to defend the rights of which they would be in actual possession than the debased subjects of arbitrary power would be to rescue theirs from the hands of their oppressors. Ladies and gentlemen, what James Madison is saying here in his roundabout old speak way, I love to use the term old speak for the way things used to be written back here in the late 1800s, he's basically saying that the purpose of the Second Amendment is to remove the federal government should it become too ambitious. Inside this lengthy document, he does talk about, I want to highlight this because it's an important word, but ambitious encroachments of the federal government on the authority of the state governments would not excite the opposition of a single state or of a few states only. They would be signals of general alarm. Let me reread that. Ambitious encroachments of the federal government on the authority of the state governments would not excite the opposition of a single state or a few states only. They would be signals of general alarm. America 2021. Actually, it's been America for most of my life. What I've seen throughout my lifetime is nothing but ambitious encroachments of the federal government onto the state's authorities, and then further downward, the counties and the cities. I'll do a quick segue to current events today. The Attorney General Merrick Garland is opening up investigations on the various police departments throughout the nation, and the intent of the Democrat Party is to remove city police and replace them with federal police. It's a direct reflection of what I've already read to you here from Federalist 46 about, I'll go back to it, let a regular army fully equal to the resources of the country be formed and let it be entirely at the devotion of the federal government. A federal police department becomes a regular army. So let's go back to the other line I just had up here. They would be signals of general alarm. Ladies and gentlemen, this not only ends the debate on the Second Amendment, Federalist 46 does here, but it also should be actually telling the American people that it is time to bring up our arms and remove this ambitious government that we have in the central authority. In another episode, I'm going to be talking about Federalist 41 and the enumerated powers of Congress limiting the federal government to far less than what it does today. And that will actually justify what should be happening in America today is to arms, revolution, and removal of the federal government and a rebuild. Now I need to go to actual Second Amendment, but before I do that, I want to actually just go back up here because I want to reemphasize this statement on the prepossessions of the people will be more on the side of the state governments, because this directly reflects to text that is contained in the Second Amendment. Let's keep in mind that in this period of time, people were far more loyal to their state government than they were this new federal government. And that's the way the Constitution was written in order to maintain that loyalty. The states are sovereign. It says so in the Constitution. The federal government has got no authority to operate inside the states. And its operations inside the states today is reason for general alarm. Now let's go to the Second Amendment. Second Amendment, U.S. Constitution, reads as follows. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now these are separated by commas, so they're all separate phrases, but you have to take it into account as the whole. A well-regulated militia. What is a militia? Well, militia is you and me. Militia are the common folk. Right? There's no particularly organized militia. Militia are just the people that are willing to fight, come out of their homes and fight, using whatever weapons they can bring. A well-regulated militia is an organization of the citizenry, created by the citizenry for the purpose of the citizenry, is what a well-regulated militia is. This is to take away from those people that want to claim that, like, the National Guard is now the militia. No, the National Guard is not the militia. The National Guard is militarized, and it answers pretty much to the U.S. Army. That's a misnomer on the National Guard, but the President of the United States has managed to twist its charter into being able to be deployed even overseas, which is a violation of the NG's charter all the way. But the National Guard is actually a military unit, and it does potentially answer to the President of the United States. Therefore, we can't consider the militia to be part of the National Guard to be part of the militia, because the Second Amendment is an anti-federalist position. So a well-regulated militia is indeed a militia organized by the people, of the people, and for the people, and only of the people. And well-regulated means that the people indeed train and orderly, assign arms and duties and things like that. So never mind anything else. A well-regulated militia is, like I say, an organized group of citizenry. It is not the National Guard. Being necessary to the security of a free state. Boy, no one has really addressed that one, at least publicly that I've heard in my lifetime. That's actually the statement of revolution. Being necessary to the security of a free state. Not a free nation, not a free country, but a free state. Going back to the Federalist 46, where the loyalties to the state would take priorities over loyalties to the Fed, this is being necessary to the security of a free state to defend itself from an ambitious encroachment by the federal government, as I just read in Federalist 46. So that is actually the statement of revolution. Being necessary to the security of a free state, being necessary for the people to be able to revolt against the central authority. There it is, folks. It's already settled. I mean, we can go on to the next two phrases, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and I will, because that's important too. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. You can both have them and you can display them. You can walk around with them. That's what bearing arms means. And what does the word arms mean? It's far more than just guns. It's baseball bats, it's yard rakes, it's sweeping brooms, and it's deeper than that. It's machine guns, it's hand grenades, it's tanks, it's nuclear weapons. It's everything. It's arms. It's anything that could be used as some sort of a weapon. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. I've had that argument. You heard me talk about nuclear weapons. I've had that argument with libertarians who fully support the Second Amendment, and they reject the idea of personal ownership of nuclear weapons. I don't like the notion myself, but that's the way the Second Amendment reads. That's the way it reads. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. And when you consider back to the previous statement being necessary to the security of a free state, meaning the power of the people to be able to revolt against their central government, means that the people should be armed with anything that the central government can have, which includes nuclear weapons. It includes cyber warfare. It includes anything that you could think of that the federal government has their hands on. So the right of the people to keep and bear arms is a much broader statement than just handguns or rifles like the NRA wants to limit us to. The NRA is not a good defender of the Second Amendment. They're not the best. Gun Owners of America are. I am. You can probably tell. But there it is. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There's no doubt about that. Shall not be infringed. That's directly saying that no law can be passed that will affect this particular amendment. And what that says is that the federal gun laws that are on the books today are all unconstitutional. They're all in violation of the Second Amendment because they violate the security of a free state. They violate that part of it because they are denying the security of a free state by having federal guns laws. They're saying that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall be limited by what the federal government has to say, when the federal government shall not infringe on this. Right now, our President Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, of course the Democrats are the gun grabbers in the country, they hate the Second Amendment. And they're currently, even as I post this particular article, they're currently in the process of trying to further restrict it and further restrict it. And I'm sure the Democrats would be happy if no one in the country had a gun. That's never going to happen. As long as there are guns, people are going to have guns. So that entire goal of theirs is a complete joke. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. But that's their target. They want to end the Second Amendment. They're going to try to do this just using simple legislation. They're going to hinge on things like previous gun legislation, including the machine gun tax law of 1933, I think, something like that. They're going to continue to rest on previous cases, none of which have actually been fully challenged, via the Second Amendment the way they should have been. So there it is. There's your Second Amendment in a nutshell. It is there for the purpose of revolting against the federal government. Everything beneath that, such as hunting rifles or self-defense at home or self-defense out and about, is all a subset of being able to defend yourself against the government. So enjoy your Second Amendment rights, push them, demand them, and say that you can have a machine gun, you can have a 150 millimeter howitzer, you can have these things, you can have an M1 Abrams tank, you can have these things. Using them has to be done with a certain degree of caution, shall we say. But you can have all these things. And the federal government be damned as they continue to pass laws that suppress the Constitution, and in this case the Second Amendment. That just gives us more reason to be keeping and bearing our arms and actually bringing them out and starting to aim them around. Ladies and gentlemen, America is at a point in time where revolution is a strongly advised weapon of choice. We have a point in time now where we have a political party that is ambitiously trying to change the election laws throughout the nation to their advantage so that they end up being the only party that can win elections into the future. Right? This is an unfair practice, and it is an ambitious political move. And at this point in time, the only way out may very well be the Second Amendment. So when these very people that are trying to consolidate their power into a single point and then dictate to us also want to take away our ability to revolt, then the reason for revolt becomes apparent. Thank you very much for your time on this one. There is your Second Amendment. You can disregard anything else that you may find online because the facts are just there before you in this video. You have a good one.